Now, Ms. McIntyre has a submission to make. You may have taken the wind out of her sails, I don't know, but we'll see. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. Yes, we've been in discussions this week with respect to the schedule, and I appreciate the difficulties that have confronted Commission Council in getting this matter launched. But it was with some alarm that I learned that the Commission may go into the fall. And as Council, on behalf of Mayor McCallion, that raises significant fairness concerns, because that then takes us into the election period. The election is scheduled to be held on October the 25th. And the closing date for the filing nomination papers is September 10th. So essentially that sets up a 6-week election period, a time frame in which it's the opportunity for the candidates to engage with the electorate with respect to the issues. And we submit that it's fundamentally unfair, particularly to the mayor, to have hearings of the inquiry overlap that period. Now, it may be a moot point. You know, I'm very encouraged to hear that you're committed to using as much time as we can in the summer. I'm sure when the inquiry was called in October of last year, it was clearly the expectation of everybody that the matter would proceed and would be finished by now. Certainly would be well done in advance of the...
I thought we'd be finished by the end of June.
...the election campaign. And sir, that would have given to the citizens of Mississauga the opportunity not only to have heard the evidence, but importantly to know what your findings of fact were at the end of the day, and also to hear what recommendations you had to make in the context of those facts, because at the end of the day, it's not the evidence in the question and all the media around the inquiry. It's your findings of facts at the end of the day that are important. And as is the nature of these inquiries, unfortunately, it's taken much longer than anticipated to get the matter launched. And we've heard details on difficulties with disclosure. I might say in passing that with respect to any reference to the mayor's office, her staff have worked overtime to get the documents to the city, which then have to be reviewed by the city and go to Commission Council. But I don't think there's any question that she's been part of the hold-up in that matter. In any event, we're now, the participants in the public are in the unfortunate position of probably not having the benefit of your report, or possibly not having the benefit of your report before the election. We certainly hope that we can. The mayor's committed to doing anything she can to expedite this process, to get it done. She welcomes your report, your recommendations, but given the terms of the reference of the inquiry and the focus on the mayor, in the normal course, she would be, if not the last, one of the last witnesses. So what we've then got is a prospect of a schedule that has her testifying and being under cross-examination during the election period. And in the context of not your findings of the report, but the smoke and dust that's thrown up by the inquiry and the media's focus on it. And we submit that it would be fundamentally unfair to conduct the inquiry during that relatively brief 6-week campaign period. So in terms of principles, we've heard a lot of discussion about the principles of fairness that govern these inquiries, and we've heard Commission Counsel talking in his factum and his submissions about the need to balance the principles of fairness and those who are targeted with the interests of the pursuit of truth and at the end of the day, the report. And so it's quite clear that the rules of procedure of the Commission itself recognize the Commission's commitment to fairness in process. I would also like to make reference, if I may, to some comments made by Justice O'Connor on the application of fairness to those adversely affected individuals in an inquiry. And if I could ask that that article be passed up to you. It's a paper presented by Justice O'Connor, who we know was commissioner in both the Walkerton Inquiry and the Aurora Inquiry for the Canadian Institute for the Administration of Justice. And on page 1314, he gets to focus on the principle of fairness as applied to adversely affected individuals. And if I may, I'll just quickly go through this. My second observation about the inquiry process relates to the need to ensure procedural fairness to those who may be adversely affected by the information that emerges during the course of the inquiry or in the report. This is critically important. There is enormous potential for an inquiry, particularly a public inquiry, to seriously damage personal and professional reputations. Because of the nature of the issues that give rise to an inquiry, there is often intense publicity, both with respect to the evidence called during the hearing process and to the report which is issued by the Commissioner. Inquiry hearings are frequently covered live on television and news media and often assign reporters to cover the inquiry on more or less a full-time basis. During the course of the hearings, the evidence is reported in newspapers and on the radio before the Commissioner has formed any conclusions with respect to the facts. And I pause there to say that facing that prospect is of particular concern. News is frequently generated by focusing on evidence that points to faults by individuals or institutions. Then we refer to the internet. Those caught up in the inquiry process face a very real danger of their professional or personal reputations being seriously affected by the exceptional amount of public attention generated by the inquiry process. He then makes reference to the Federal Inquiries Act and the Interior Public Inquiries Act, and concludes by saying, that said, there remains a significant danger that those caught up in an inquiry process may have their reputations unfairly tarnished in a serious way. I'm not sure of the complete answer to this. The amount of public attention and what the media will focus on is beyond the control of the inquiry. I do suggest, however, that it is essential that Commission counsel in deciding what evidence to call and how to lead it, lean over backward to be fair and balanced and alert to the potential for unfair damage to reputations. Equally, a Commissioner crafting a report should be careful in its use of language that may generate this type of adverse effect. It's important to bear in mind that the primary purpose of the inquiry is not to find fault, but rather to face facts and to report on what happened in order to make recommendations to ensure that there not be a repeat of the crisis in the future. How does that then apply to the particular circumstances we're dealing with here? And to me, it goes without saying that it is unfair to put the mayor in the position of the inquiry proceeding through the campaign period. And this is for two reasons. First, the potential interference with the campaign itself, and the mayor's ability to focus on the